everybody. This is the Tanya Hoffman's Fabulous TV Show, and I am Tanya Hoffman, and this is my Fabulous TV Show, and these are my fabulous guests. I am so excited today to bring to you for 2016 the very new show with my amazing guest, Bonita Lehman. Yay! Hey, Bonita.
Hi, welcome everyone.
Fabulous Mr. Sean McBride. Yay! So we're going to have a great show, and for us it's all about having fun, but about giving you value so that you can walk away today with real information that just if we could give you one tip that you're like, oh, that is awesome, to move you forward. And I know with 2016, and I think maybe we should start with goals, right? Is I have the same goal every year. Oh my gosh. And people are like, well, that's a sucky goal. You never change your goal. And I reach it every year. And that is, at the end of the year, I want to look back at myself and not recognize myself from the year before. And that requires a lot of changing, a lot of curiosity. Bonnie and I were talking about one of our fabulous guests. Their name is Curiosity. And, to be curious and to expand and try things that are new. I mean, I tried Blab just not too long ago, and now I'm loving it, trying things that just are shocking. I'm going and speaking to a guy about Asia and doing an Asian tour, I'm like, talk about, every time I'm like, maybe I should put it off. And I'm like, no, just do it, right? And, to change, this was me in 2005. And people are like, no way. But that's who I used to be, a complete introvert, someone that was scared of life, someone that it was easier to be away from everyone because it was safer, especially for men. I had a very rough upbringing, and I've been robbed and tied up when I was 6 months pregnant and stuff like that. And so I get why I was scared and why I didn't want to be a part of life. But gosh, I looked back and I'm like, 38 years it took me to start living life. And I don't want anybody listening to take that long. If you're under the age of 38, get going. If you're over the age of 38, get going. So how about you, Ms. Bonita? What is your goal for 2016?
Well, I was just thinking about your goal, and I actually have lots of goals, but one of I always have this big goal of to be happy and peaceful. That's always the end result of every single goal that I have, but it's always, like you had mentioned, push yourself. And I call it for myself, and I have it in my mind as just throwing yourself in the deep end and having the confidence and knowing that you can get out of it. And you know what? If I don't, I look at that as a learning experience, because then I learn the most about me and what I can and can't do. And then it opens up a new opportunity to go, wow, I can't do that, but I really want to. So then I go forward. So I always try things, even though they may not work out how I want it to. I always learn from it, and I always feel like I move forward. So that's sort of the mindset that I give myself. But that overlying peace and happiness is always the end result of all of my goals.
I love that. Exactly. And I think that's the hardest thing is for most people. I was just talking to my daughter who's, having issues with her boyfriend, and she's 20, and, her whole life is all revolved around college and this guy, and I'm like, baby, at the end of the day, all I can give you advice is be happy and satisfied with your choices, because you can only make the choices you can make today, right? And they have to make you happy.
And I was looking for an older picture of mine, and I can't find it because you always show yours, Tanya. But I too had a bit of a transformation about 10 years ago, where I was living in that small little world, and then that one morning, actually early January, so 11 years ago, this time of the year, and in Edmonton, Canada, it is very dark and gray. And I woke up one morning, and it was like this voice was talking to me, and I needed to make a change. And from that moment on, I was just, I started to change with health and wellness.
Nice.
And that's where I started, and that's where I built my confidence and moving forward. And that was really the foundation for all of my success, was just getting healthy, fit, and then working on that happiness piece and moving forward. I wrote my memoir about my story. So yeah, it's quite interesting how things can change. And 10 years isn't really that long, but keep moving forward. And I think I was 42 when that happened. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't. I think
late.
you have to make that choice for yourself. I was just talking to my husband yesterday. It takes you to make. No one can make that choice for you, right? Because it's such a huge decision. You've got to kind of hone in on that happiness and expand it and figure out, what does that really mean for yourself? What makes you happy? And sometimes it's a rough transition to kind of look inside. So how about you, Mr. Sean? What's your goal for 2016?
Very interesting parallels here just to start. 2015 was a year like you described, Tanya. I mean, I don't, a lot of things I don't recognize about myself and my business from the start of 2015 to the end of 2015. I'd love to have the same in 2016. So we've got a lot of stuff we've started laying the foundation for here, both personally and professionally. So the goal is to execute on what we started, more speaking engagements, getting out in front of more audiences, spreading the word, helping people with business law issues. So that is the goal, is to build on what we started in 2015 and to make
Love it. And, and I think with you, Sean, it was so funny because when we got connected, I was like, I already feel connected because you have my grandmother's family was McBride's. And I'm like, you've got to be family. And I even talked to my mother. We got to talk about this sometime, because she's like, I think they must be family because we come from that area, okay. Even though we've been Oklahomians for a while and Texans. So,
Okay.
So what I would love for people to know is kind of a little bit about what we all do, and that way they can kind of see how do they connect with us. And I want to, suggest everyone listening to really take the moment and follow these fabulous people. If you're listening to the recording, jump on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all of those and find us. One of the things that you need to do, I think, especially as a business owner, but even beyond that, is not just follow people, and see them, but get to know them. And for me, I want you to know that you could always reach out. We would love to talk to you. We would love to see how we could help you. So I am the CEO and founder of the Public Speakers Association and Career Speaker Academy, and I'm starting Hoffman Publishing because, I don't like being bored. So, I know, right? It's like, and, because I realize, I've got 6 books and one of them's a little tip book. I'm like, well, what if I make co-author books? So then suddenly, I'm making a publishing company, things I do. But I love really helping people get their voice out there, getting their message known, because I feel that everybody can change somebody's life. Everyone could start the momentum and start the, change the movement to something better. And so for me, it's about getting your message out there so you can change somebody's life. So Bonita, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, I'm known as the Dream Big Coach, and I help people be able to say, I am living the amazing life of my dreams. And it all started with having a dream. And I realized very quickly that a lot of people have forgotten how to dream. And therefore, a lot of their goals and a lot of their ambitions in life are really small and stifled. So what I do is I work with clients and I coach them to really open up their minds to what is possible. And I just often start with just close your eyes and what would the amazing life be for you? What would it look like? And we just build from there. And then we work on confidence and we work on goal setting and goal achieving and, a lot of that inside, what's going on inside you. And one of the things that I'm working on this year with a lot of my clients is really defining that goal. And maybe the reason that you're not achieving your goals is maybe it's not you, but maybe it's the goal. The goal isn't the right goal for you because we often just regurgitate things. So those are just some of the key points I'm working with clients recently. And like I said, it often starts with just closing your eyes and imagining what is possible for you and getting beyond that. So I help clients do that. I'm also certified in emotional intelligence, and I can do a whole blab on emotional intelligence because that's really the key to what we say and do and what we say and what we don't do. Because every thought, every action starts with an emotion. So it's interesting when you peel away the layers like an onion, that underlying component is your emotions. So we got to connect the brain, both sides of the brain, and understand it and really make the best person possible. So that's a few ways how I work with my clients. I'm also a best-selling author. I wrote a memoir called Saving Her, Saving Me. It's a bit of my story and my journey, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm co-author of 2 other books. So Tanya, like yourself, partnering up with other authors, and that's really an amazing experience to do that and get to know other people as well. And my website is on the side, dreambig-liveamazing.com.
Nice. Awesome. I know emotional intelligence just is fascinating to me, because everything is connected. I connected you with Sandy Mitchell, I think, and she does emotional intelligence. And, when I talk to her, I'm like, oh my gosh, if people could just take this concept, especially if they're in a work environment, if they got to go to job, and learn how to communicate with everybody. It's all about communications, right? And understanding where somebody's kind of looking at people from their side of the view. Is that right?
That's right. Because your emotions affect you and what you do, but also the people around you. And a lot of people don't realize that. That's something called self-regard and emotional intelligence. And that's probably the number one issue in the workplace, is that self-regard and your self-awareness and how you're affecting the people around you. It's often something that's missed and a huge thing that could turn your office environment around. I work with office businesses as well, just to go in and do workshops and just help them with the emotional intelligence and the happiness level of their the personnel, because it's really the key that keeps that motor going and your business going is your people, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And then Sean, I know that then you do the flip side where it's about the laws and about helping people stay, right and not right. That's not the right word, but legal. But I think it's also about keeping people out of trouble, because I see a lot of partnerships that just blow up because they didn't do the stuff they needed to do at the beginning. Yep. So tell us about what you do.
Yeah, and so it's all about doom and gloom. I mean, this is about growth too. I mean, that's what we're ultimately are in this for, and our mission is to protect business owners, and that's what we brand our law firm around. And what we try to do is start with a foundation, get things set up properly so that the companies can then grow properly, and where are you at? Where are you going? Like Bonita talked about, setting that vision. What do you want to be? And we have that conversation with our clients early in the process. What do you want to be? What do you want your business to look like? And then we go from there, and then we start developing a plan to help them grow into that. When clients come to us, they might be concerned about where are they going to get their next round of capital from? How are they going to execute this growth plan? How do we just get started? How do we make sure that, we don't get out of the gate and then get sued for an intellectual property issue, or have some issue come up where a governmental authority comes in and says, hey, you didn't get your regulatory license. So we start with that very basic foundation, but it's getting things in order and laying that foundation so that the growth can take off with the company over time.
Nice. And I'm sure that you see kind of the ugly, but also the positive, people that are excited about getting things moving and kind of clearing things out. And I think a lot of that, I'm always encouraging people to really look at that, opportunity to connect with people like yourself. And I think there's that, oh, I don't want to talk to a lawyer, but you're so nice, right?
We try to make it something different, I don't want to be that lawyer that you're afraid to approach. I mean, we want to be people you can come into, talk to, have a conversation with, and figure out where you're going and get there. We're not here to say no. We're here to help figure out how. Where are you at? Where do you want to get to? How do we get there? Not just say no, you can't do that, or that's the wrong strategy. What is the right strategy? And then how do we do it in a cost-effective way that makes sense with your overall plan?
Nice. Because I know too many people that get stuck because they just haven't sat down and really thought through. And this is probably something that you do help with people with Bonita too, is to start from a position that this is going to be a business that grows and expands and that's going to be successful, right? And I think people don't sit down with a plan to make that happen.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot easier if you start the plan early in the process. If you wait until you test and get a little bit of success, then you're going to have a lot of rework to make it into a bigger business. Whereas if you set that foundation and have the plan to grow and know what you want it to look like in 3 to 5 years, a lot of our clients will talk in terms of a 3 or 5 year plan. This is where we want to be 5 years from now, and they'll work backwards from there. And those companies seem to grow a lot smoother than the ones that go out and say, we're just going to test the concept, we'll fish in the water for a year or two, and then when they start seeing, oh, fish are biting, then they have another year or two of retooling to allow them to grow. So it's really a tale of different clients.
And what type of business?
Go ahead, Bonita.
And what type of businesses? I'm just asking, what kind of businesses do you specialize in?
We work with a variety of industries. I mean, we have a common theme of issues we see as a law firm, which is raising capital, ownership, structuring, growth of the business. These are the themes we see over and over again. Industry-wise, we see all kinds of industries. You know, it might be internet, technology, oil and gas. We have manufacturing, retail. Our clients run a variety of industries, but we're always focused on those same types of issues as a law firm.
They probably kind of cover the bases of everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, we want to. Our law firm doesn't do everything, but we work with our clients on covering all the bases. So one of our jobs as a law firm when we're working with a client is not only set up this ownership structuring and set this growth plan and do the things necessary, but we'll also bring in other people as needed to cover other bases which we don't have the expertise in.
Right, love that.
So you could often like be a collaborative person and reach out and get them the people that they need. So that's actually
great. We
like
want to get the best players on the field. There are a lot of people out there that will do everything, and that's not our philosophy on working through issues. We want to make sure that we have the best people. We're not a law firm to dabble, and we're not going to dabble in non-legal issues, and we're not going to dabble in legal issues where we don't have expertise. So as soon as it becomes something specialized, we'll bring in a specialist for that. We sort of will work with the client to make sure we have that right long-term plan set.
I love it. And I know, because for me, anytime I start something new, I always start with, okay, let's get all the legal stuff, out of the way, and then we move from there. Yeah. And, sometimes people are like, Tanya, you get me to sign a form for everything. And I'm like, I know, because I don't want it to come back a year later and they're like, well, I didn't say you could do whatever, Yeah. So I always just like to know if I know and you know where we're both coming, then we all meet in the middle and there's no question, right?
Right. And that's pretty basic. And that's one of the things we'll talk to our clients about is just getting that fundamental understanding. You'll be surprised how many disputes are not just because people didn't put things in writing. That is a very good step, and that's a great idea is to have everything in writing, and it's very good, for problems later. But the mere process of putting things in writing, typically with a lawyer involved, of getting that understanding of what everybody's agreeing to makes a huge difference, because a lot of times when we get these disputes down the road, we'll find out the reason why there's a dispute is people didn't have the same understanding. One person thought one thing in their head, another person thought another thing in their head. They're both moving forward thinking that they agreed to the same thing. But a year or two later, something happens and they find out that fundamental understanding they had at the beginning was not the same understanding. One thought one thing, one thought something else.
I just had that happen with I just had a lady that I went to her conference, and before, we talked on the phone. I thought I understood what she was wanting from me and everything. And then I get there and she thought something completely different. And so we weren't on the same page. And I told her, I said, next time, let's get it in writing so we could both see it. It's clear because it's there, right? And we both are seeing the same words versus what's in our heads. A lot of times, something different than comes out of our mouths a lot of times.
Right. Yeah, that moment of calm reflection.
Well, and even in an email, and it's just saying if you do it in an email, even the words via email can be thought of something different. So it's conversation, it's words on paper, it's just getting it all very clear.
Yep. And an email and text, people, y'all be careful, because I can't believe how many times people are like, I can't believe you were so upset. And I'm like, I don't know how that came across as upsetting, because I read it again. I'm like, but again, it's not me reading it, right?
Yeah.
Well, it could have been the emotional state that the reader was in at the time, because they could have been a little bit agitated, heightened emotional state, and took your message completely differently. So that's, again, emotional intelligence, just to
Exactly. And we read things differently. I remember a person who emailed me one time. They're like, I can't believe you're letting those people into the Public Speakers Association. I'm like, those people? I mean, I just like went off on those people, right? I was like, what do they mean? You know? And they didn't mean anything that I was thinking. And they were like, wait, I didn't mean all of that, you know? And it's just funny. We have to be careful about, you know, what we say and what we, you know, perceive, you know, when we're this.
Could get you into legal trouble. Right?
It's back to
Right,
emotional
Sean?
intelligence. Everybody's got their fundamental understandings. They've got their kind of life scripts. They've got their past experiences, and they read things and view things in that light, which is where kind of taking the moment, stepping back and documenting the stuff can add so much value, just to get everybody in the same frame of mind, the same understanding, paused, paying attention to what they're agreeing to, and then moving forward.
I know, you know, here I am going to Asia, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I don't go, especially because I've had a lot of people wanting to start up chapters for me for the Public Speakers Association in different countries. And every time I tell them, what is the legal issues in going into that country? And I always find the lawyer there and start the process if that person's really interested. And it's really interesting to me how many people don't want to go through that process or don't value that process. And to me, I just want to, it's kind of a, not just a safety thing, but it's about an expansion. I don't want to go into something blind. I want to know what I'm doing, right? And finding those people that have that same value.
Right. And protect that value. Protect what you're doing. You're going to put a lot of time and energy in any business venture. You want to protect that value. And one way to protect that value is to have that fundamental understanding from the beginning of what are we building? Where are we going? You know, and I unfortunately have one of my clients right now, 2 owners, and they had different visions of the future. So they're in a very uncomfortable situation right now with each other, because one wants to really grow the business. The other's happy with keeping it stable, and they don't have a way to break this deadlock. So, you know, if they had talked about some of these issues at the foundational stage, we'd be in a lot different spot right now.
Yeah, they probably need Bonita to help them, you know, look at the communication skills on that.
Probably so, yes.
Well, and the other thing, to create a vision statement of what, you know, when you go into partnership with somebody, what is your vision of where you want this to go? It's just like any relationship, like a marriage. I just got engaged, so I'm getting married this year, I can say. So, you know what? It's a relationship. So you have to talk with your partner, whether it's a business partner, whether it's your partner in writing your book, you know, your co-author. I mean, it's about understanding, where do you want it to go? What do you want it to look like? Along the way, what do you want to be doing? How can you see yourself doing this? You know, it's hugely important. And then just going back to the legal issues, when I was writing my book, I talked to many lawyers. It was a memoir. So I had to talk about, you know, the privacy issues and then the copyright. I had included a little bit of a story, which is Charlotte's Web. And it was really important for me because some of the verbiage to, you know, sending up the story and the message of a scene with my girls. And Charlotte's Web was one of their favorite movies and books and so forth. So I had to understand how much of that story I could include in my book without getting into hot water. So lots of discussion with the legal aspect of writing a book, the copyright issues. I talk about they ate Cheerios, and it's about chronic illness. So, and she has diabetes since infancy. So, you know, there's the insulin names and, you know, the syringes and all of those legal issues. I really had to wrap my head around, because I didn't want to spend all this time writing and publishing a book, and then a year or so later going, well, you can't write that down. That's going to get you into legal water. And then I have to totally rewrite the book, take everything off the shelf and put a new version in. That's extremely expensive. So it would have been 3 times my legal bills that I invested in the beginning of my book. Like you said, setting up the foundation from a legal standpoint of where I wanted my book and my business to go.
Exactly. It's just, for me, it's about building a real business. You know, I see a lot of people that they're like, I want to be a speaker, yay! And then they don't do anything that makes them a business. Speaking is really a marketing tool for your business. It's about getting your words out there. And even if you're in the holistic realm or the, health and wellness realm or, want to fight cancer, it's still a business. And you've got to approach it as that, because then you run into legal issues. You run into things that I saw someone use a Disney film the other day as part of their PowerPoint. And I know they didn't have copyright for that, right? I can even imagine how much that would have cost. And I'm like, you're just setting yourself up for some hurt later on. And why do that to yourself?
Yeah. And
even credibility.
Yeah. These problems crop up. I mean, no worries. These problems do crop up. I have a colleague, a lawyer, and part of their business is to go around to bars and restaurants and look at what they're playing on sports games and these types of things to see if they have the proper license. And they check it against the master list, and massive lawsuits come down from it. Same with these PowerPoints. There's people out there that are actually looking at images of files online. So they'll scour people's PowerPoints to see if you use somebody else's image. And then they'll basically come to you to settle, or else they'll sue you for penalties. So these little things that you just don't think about can be big problems. It is really having that business philosophy from the beginning and saying, yes, this is a business. We will do things correctly, and then building forward from there.
It's also about not taking the cheapest way out. And I think that's so hard for people who are just starting out. They're bootstrapping it, right? They're starting with $100 and they're like, okay, I'm going to start my business, Yes. And it's hard to give away that $100. And I totally get it. I totally see how that, you're like, I could go buy food, or I could spend money on, a lawyer or Bonita or whatever, right? But it sets you up with confidence. I think it's about building confidence for yourself from the beginning. And I know a friend of mine, she had an email come through 100 or like 99 pictures, images for $100, and she was just getting started in her business. She goes, what a great deal. So she bought it. And it was a scam. They had taken all these images from all of these websites and was selling it to people, but they didn't have the rights to it.
Yeah.
And so she ended up getting sued $15,000. Even though she, was buying it from somebody else, she still got sued because she didn't buy it from the proper channels. And it may cost you $10 to $30 per image someplace else, but then you've got the rights to it. And read the terms and conditions, people.
So Sean, tell me a little bit, if you were to have a new client, so do you do an exploratory session, like an introduction?
Yeah, generally what will happen, somebody will contact us. They'll find us through some channel. Either, they'll see us speak somewhere, or they'll know one of our existing clients. And then usually what we do is just an exploratory conversation. I call it a get to know each other meeting. We sit down and we talk, and we see how our personalities fit together, see if there's a long-term fit. Then it usually moves into steps. First thing will then be understanding what project they have coming up next, where they think they're going, where they're at. We kind of look at where they are, what they've done so far, and where they're headed to next. And then we start putting together a plan. And then each plan is fairly custom. I mean, it's really, where's that client at? What have they done in the past? Where are they going to? When we match all that together, and then we lay the plan to grow that business over time.
I love it.
So it sounds like you're developing a long-term relationship then, or is it generally years and you meet once a year like your financial planner?
It varies by client. A lot of our clients we work with over a very long period of time. It is somewhat unusual to have a client come in and work with us just on one project. What would be typical is a client will come in and work with us on a project. They'll have some particular issue that they needed for us to work on. We'll start with that. We'll work through that. And then there may be an additional project or two that follows on immediately because they grow and something else comes up. Or a lot of clients, then we get them through that project. They're in good shape. Then we just kind of have a check-in relationship for a while until the next business need comes up. Maybe they want to go out and acquire somebody. Somebody comes and makes an offer to acquire part of their business. Or some new thing comes up. They want to bring in another round of investors or grow somehow. So usually it is a very long-term relationship with the client, and we just kind of evolve with them over time.
You probably get that too, Bonita, because I know for myself, when the people that just like are okay, done. They do their thing and then they're gone. They don't really get a lot of what you can really do long term, right? Do you find that with your clients?
I do. I have a couple of ways that I work. And a lot of my clients start out with coaching one-on-one for about 6 months. And then I have something, I call myself an accountability partner, because accountability is huge. And then they often just transition into doing a bit of an accountability process for themselves. And some of them come back and do, again, coaching again. It's just resetting yourself, revisualizing and really talking about your goals and narrowing in again. Because I tend to, over time, I think everybody gets really broad and kind of like all the shiny objects are out there, but then you got to bring yourself in again. So there's sort of two ways to work it, but I do find a lot of clients work with me one-on-one for about 6 months, go into the accountability kind of program, if you want to call it. And then at about 3 or 4, even 6 months, some of them are really great. They just go to accountability and then they kind of set themselves free. And that's my ultimate goal, is I want you to fly on your own wings. I mean, you know what? That's the ultimate goal for me, is just to release you and you are on your own. I like to have them check in with me every once in a while, but truly I want you to be your own person. So I really work towards that. But some people really like the accountability, and that's what gives them, a definition for their world. So once a week we, check in with each other, or once a month, or, it's kind of flexible, and everybody's different. So that's kind of,
I know, and with the Public Speakers Association and really with any kind of my personal clients and everything, I think the hardest thing for me to get through to people is that there's a length of time that needs to happen. It's about building momentum. And a lot of times, I think with our mindset nowadays, we want everything instantaneous. So if we, back when we used to do ads in newspapers, right? You'd put an ad in, you're like, where is all these clients they promised, And realistically, it takes, people seeing things over and over again. And it's so hard, especially the internet. It's such an incredible tool for us now. One of the things that I see people do is they come in and they do things once and they're like, see, it didn't work. And it's about momentum and showing people that you're doing, and you never know who's going to see. And the hardest thing, because I used to own retail stores. So you saw somebody walk in and they would, go and they'd ask, to buy something, and you would see them physically pick something up and bring it to the counter and buy it. Now it's hard because we don't see people. We don't see who listens to the recordings. We don't see who's listening online. We don't get to know the people until they're ready to get known. And this is a hard concept for a lot of people. And I'm like, just hold in there. It's about building momentum. One of my favorite stories, it's heartbreaking every time I think about it. But, I love telling this story because it's such a perfect example. There was a lady that joined the Public Speakers Association, and she got into the virtual summits, and she was really very clear and precise and just had a lovely voice, and she was just all around just fantastic. And she did lots of things with us, but for her, the momentum wasn't there. But for that year, I saw the momentum happening, and I saw her improving, and I saw her doing. And she, at the end of her year, she's like, I don't think I'm going to renew. And I'm like, oh, but I just felt like it was just about to happen for her. And that's always the hardest part, is people don't see that things are happening, right? It's this momentum that is kind of invisible for yourself. And a week later, after she quit, I got a phone call, and it was a huge Fortune 100 company. And they're like, I can't find one of your members. And I saw them on the virtual summit. I heard them about 6 months ago. I want to bring them in to do trainings. And I finally got everything approved, because it takes a while for corporate to do anything. And I'm like, oh, great, who is it? And they told me it was this lady. And I was like, oh, I said, she just, she's no longer a member, but I still have all of her contact information. And they're like, you're kidding. How could she, and they're like, oh, that's so disappointing. And I'm like, but I've got her contact. And they're like, no, we don't do business with quitters. And I think this is what a lot of people don't see, is what you are physically showing people every day, right? If you're not doing something, they're not seeing you.
Yep.
And your actions have huge results.
That's true.
And they said, they had gone through this entire process to get her approved. Of course, she didn't know.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, can you, connect me with somebody that, you think can do this job? We need to talk to them and vet them, obviously. And they're like, I just hate to waste, we just finally got the $100,000 approved. And I'm like, $100,000? And I've always thought, should I tell the lady? And then I'm like, oh my God, if it was me, it would have just ripped me up, right? And I never did tell her, because I was like, it's always been a struggle for me. I'm like, should I tell her? But someone else, I'm sure, was happy.
Yeah, probably not. I don't
know.
What do you think? Should you tell her?
Part of me says yes, just to have the feedback and the information going forward. But yeah, what a heartbreaker to listen to that story. But yeah, it's the same.
Right.
Same thing we see with so many of our clients. I guess it's true in the speaking business. It's true in a lot of businesses. Our clients do these hockey sticks, right? They'll flat, grow, and then suddenly the revenues just take off. We see that with a lot of our clients, and it's just a process. It's momentum and builds up.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it is about building, and about building relationships. Don't you think, Bonita, it's a lot of it is about building those solid foundations of relationships that will help you expand and grow.
Absolutely. And that's what your Speakers Association is all about. And that's what Blab is all about, is connecting with people, because I'm sitting here in cold, frigid Northern Canada, and I don't get a chance to, reach out and branch out all over the world. And this is just a great way to do it. So I'm really embracing this technology. And just to go back to Sean, your hockey stick, of course, Canadian, was at a hockey game on the weekend, but this hockey stick, that long plateau, it's just like anything in life. It's your business. It's the legal part of your business. You don't realize the fundamental shifts that are taking unless you look back on your history and take note of your successes. And I talked about, looking at things that didn't work and learning from them, but really it's writing down those successes. And just like Sean, when you work with your clients, you have a whole portfolio of what you've worked on. So it's there for them to look at. It's quite comforting. But for us personally, we don't often do that. Just like your speaker that quit, she didn't realize the small incremental steps that she was taking. And to quote John C. Maxwell, which is one of my favorite, he's a mentor. He's a wonderful man. I learned so much from him, but it's the small daily steps that you make every day that will give you your end result. So again, going back to food and health and wellness, it's how many times do you skip the gym? Oh, I don't want to go today. I'm too tired. Oh, I'm just going to have this bag of chips. Oh, I'm going to just have this piece of cake. It's those small, tiny little things that add up and add up and add up to, at the end of the year, you're going, holy cow, what have I been doing? So you really want to just work on those small, little incremental steps and take note of your successes and go, yeah, you know what? I was so awesome. I can do that again today, and build yourself up. You have to get that inner coach in your head. You got to get that voice going, that mindset, that you always have those two voices in there, and you got to have that one stronger, and you got to have it, kick the other one's ass, I always say. So yeah, you know what? It's true. It's that hockey stick. And then soon you're going to get that woof, and there you go. And you're just ready to fly.
I know, we just went through the whole holiday season, and, we kind of, we've got cookies, we've got, my family makes pies, we got all this food. And it was very interesting because my husband had a stroke about a year and a half ago or so. And so we changed a lot of our dietary issues, and, for my son who just turned 12 and is already 5'7", and he was complaining that his joints are hurting again, which means he's about to grow again. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got a little giant. But he started, we all started eating better and started realizing, what we were eating. Sometimes you don't even stop to think about it. It's kind of like stopping to think about your business. What are we doing? And the other day he was at school, and his choir teacher brought donuts for the kids as a surprise or bonus or whatever. And he goes, Mom, I ate one. I was so excited about it because I haven't had a donut in forever. And He goes, I felt awful afterwards. And you don't realize how our bodies adjust, right? If we eat lots of sugar and we're taking in lots of the junk and preservatives, we're used to it, right? It's like eating a Twinkie now. I ate one and someone was like, hey, we got a Twinkie, let's eat it. It was awful. And I remember just loving them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's even, that soda pop thing. I don't drink soda, but it's funny. Sure, I wanna have a Diet Coke would be my go-to soda, and I have a Diet Coke, and it's like, wow, I didn't really enjoy it this time. Where before I used to love drinking Diet Coke, and it was like it's just whatever you get used to. And for me, again, I'm going to go back to the gym. I don't go to the gym. I'm in a grumpy mood, and my fiance says, you didn't go to the gym today, did you? And I said, no, I skipped it. He goes, I can totally tell. He says, you need to go tomorrow. It's just, it creates that foundation of wellness and where you want to go. And it just makes you a better you. So whether it's, going to the gym or going for a walk or getting out at lunchtime or changing your eating habits, or even after Christmas, go, you know what? I'm lying in the sand and we're going to cross through it. And yeah, I'm going through sugar withdrawal myself because I enjoyed my Christmas and had lots of wine. It's another little treat of mine is wine. So you know what? I know I have to, really put a hammer down and go, no, I need to do this. I know I need to do this. So I've got a couple of 30-day challenges that I'm working on physically and then just with my diet. So you just got to restructure and go back and, just like if your business is starting to fall apart, well, where do I need to go back to? Maybe it's the legal side of your business, or maybe I need to talk to my partner about that end vision game. What do we see this business at? You know what? Don't wait for January 1. You can start on Tuesday. So you know what? You always got to go back when you start kind of spitting things on the wall. Something's got to give. So go back, take a look at what you're building personally, professionally, and spiritually, and everything in your world, and where do you need to go back to? And even square one, just deal with it and go back to square one. You started your business, you didn't see a lawyer, go see your lawyer. You know what? You started a relationship, it's going down the tank. You know what? Maybe see your personal coach or your speaking business, whatever. It's all there for you. You can find
exactly. There's always somebody that will help. And I found, and this was the hardest thing for me to kind of adjust for, is wanting to learn how to open up and ask for help. Because a lot of times you don't know what to ask. People are like, why didn't you ask me? And I'm like, at the time, I didn't know I needed that. So a lot of times it's about saying, Bonita, what do you see in me that needs, to be adjusted? Or Sean, what is it that should I be working on in my business? So if you just reach out, we all love helping. I think that's why entrepreneurs are so much fun to hang around, is that we are naturally helpers. And we just love seeing how we can be of service to people, right?
Yep. It's finding your blind spots, having that right advisor to say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you explored this? Have you looked at that? I mean, Tanya and I sat down a couple of weeks ago and, she just had an amazing number of little things for me. Like, hey, have you thought about this? Have you adjusted this? Have you done that? And we can all do that for each other. So be out there, communicate, work with other people, and it will make a huge difference.
And I know with the upcoming conference, we've got the Public Speakers Conference that, you can go find out more about it at publicspeakersconference.com. And everyone who wants to have something on their bios for 2016, we've got nominations open for Collaborator of the Year, local, national, and international. So make sure you nominate yourself so you can say, I'm an official nominated, candidate for the Collaborator of the Year. It's great to put on your bios. We also have the video submissions, so you can submit under a 5-minute video. We've got lots of different categories like best business tip, best personal development tip, best story. There's a whole bunch of different categories. Mm-hmm. And again, it helps you something to put into your bio, especially if you're wanting to be a speaker, to kind of get yourself as, something that, people could say, wow, you got something going on in 2016. But, one of the things that I saw happening every year at this kind of conference, and I love going to conferences where most of the people there are some type of coach in some way, some type of, helping people with business, personal development. is all you have to do is go and ask questions, and people are such givers. They can't not put their hat on, right? They put their coaching hat on immediately. And so they're walking around and you just ask them a question. There is no way that they can't jump in and say, oh, I know what you need to do. So you just go and you can get free coaching over and over and over again. So it's so much fun when that happens.
Well, the thing, often you talk about other people or you talk to other people, and some people don't actually go out and talk to other people. They talk to their best friend or their mom or their dad, or their brother or sister, but they may not be telling you what you really need to hear. So I often say a coach is way different than a best friend, because they might tell you the stuff that your best friend won't tell you because they love you and they don't want to hurt your feelings. So it's really important to go to an expert and go, what should I do about this? Or what do you think about ABC? And get your legal advice, whatever, because you can get advice from your best friend, but is it really the advice that you need?
Plus, Bonita, like in your practice, I'm sure you've seen this. You've seen these issues before. You've been through it with other clients. You can analogize. You can apply that, and to have that right expert that's been down that path before, and say, hey, I have other clients that face this issue, and this is what they've done. Whereas your mom, your father, your best friend, as well intentioned as they are, this probably isn't their business. It isn't what they've built their expertise around. And they may be helpful in some cases. In some cases, they just may recommend the wrong thing just because they don't have that breadth of experience in that particular area.
Well, just like when we sat down, Sean, you and I, and I can see, because I talk to event planners all the time, I see what people want actually to book. And so for me, it's very easy to say, oh my gosh, all you have to do is do it this way, apply for these by saying this, whatever. And a lot of people never ask. And I'm like, this is opportunity for you to do something amazing if you just ask somebody, hey, what do you think? And really be open to that. Because I see people all the time. They're like, Tanya, what do you think? And then you tell them, they're like, oh, well, yeah. Like, well, don't ask if you don't really want to know.
Right. Yeah.
So, and it's just like Jerry Seymour is one of our guests on the line. Hey, Jerry, he's amazing. He came to my conference. I asked him, he's kind of an expert in audio, visual stuff. And, you just reach out to people and say, how can they be of benefit to me, but how then can I be a benefit to them back? Yeah. And I think that's hard for people a lot of times, because I'm like, well, what can I do for Jerry? The same thing, what can he do for me? And I think a lot of times people are such takers or are too much givers. They only give and they forget to ask for help. So try to balance things out and you'll see huge momentum.
It's a very good point, Tanya. Absolutely.
Right. So I want to see, I know each one of you has an incredible giveaway offer. And if it's a website link, you can also put it into our little message area so that you can take advantage of that. So Bonita, let's start with you. What do you have to give our fabulous listeners today?
Well, I'm going to put up a website link, but one of the things that I give away is an excerpt of my memoir, so you can read a little bit about my story, learn a little bit more about me. And then also another thing is I have creating a vision board, and it's all about dreaming big. It's called my Daily Vision and Compass Guide. And then also a happiness journal, because I tell my clients, and I did a speech on goal setting this year. So if you could do one thing this year, one small change, is to experience gratitude and receive gratitude and be grateful for things in your life and search for gratitude. And then also search for happiness, because it doesn't just come to you. You're just not naturally happy. Many of us have to look for it. So those are 3 things. I'll set up the link on the website. I'd be happy to give those as your gifts and start off your 2016 in a positive way and give you happiness and so forth. So that's my free gift today.
Yay. All right, Sean, how about you?
Yep. 2 things. I have a business health checklist. I'll put my email address over here on the side. Feel free to email me directly. This will help people find those blind spots. So to the extent you're running a business, thinking about starting a business, this will kind of give you things to look for to help find some of those blind spots. Some of those things a professional advisor could help spot for you. These are things you could help spot yourself to start that process. It's not a replacement for it, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. The other thing also is we invite people to join our blog. We blog regularly on business law topics. is a great way to get free advice on common issues. I mean, it's stuff that's coming out of our practice as we're working with clients and seeing issues come up. They go onto our blog articles, and so you can learn from the experiences of others through that method. So we welcome people for either or both of those. I'll type my email address in here, and feel free to email me directly, and we'll get you the links to sign up for both.
Perfect. And I always run a contest. It's over there on the side. It's TanyaHoffman.com. Remember, Tanya's with an O. Hoffman is one F like Frank and two N's, Nancy, because my husband's family doesn't know how to spell Hoffman right. So it's TanyaHoffman.com/win, like WIN /. And you could win a contest where you can have a whole hour of coaching with me for free, which is $1,000 value. So join that. But realistically, when you fill that little contest out, all you have to do is say, I'd like to talk to Tanya sooner, and let's just chat and get to know each other. So it makes it fun, but then you can also win the big contest at the end. And I do it on the 1st of every month. So if you're listening to the recording, take advantage of that anyways. And, I love to connect with you and see how I can help. And I know a few people, so, hello, let's get you connected and let's have fun for the rest of the year. So I thank y'all for coming on today. I loved having y'all on. And of course, I would love to have you back. Sound good?
I would love to come back. This was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Great. Perfect. And I am booking for people for my TV show. So if you're listening and you want to be on there, Jerry, I want you on my show. And then also we've got our virtual summit every single month. So even if you're watching the recording, we would love to have you as a presenter on that. It's 25 minutes straight presentation, and we do it every single month. Every other month is just open to anything. So like this month in January, it's open to anything. It's January 20th and 21st. And then every other month we have a special theme. So February will be our relationship, both business and family themed virtual summit. So make sure that you get all signed up for that one also. And you can find it all on Public Speakers with an S Association.com. And obviously you'll want to book these fabulous people for your next event. Get connected to them. And the easiest way to find all their social media links or websites, their beautiful pictures, is go to Public Speakers Association, go to our speaker search. There's a little search bar there, and you just put in Bonita, or just B-O-N if you can't figure out how to spell Bonita. Or you can put Sean in, and it'll pop up their pretty little faces. And, of course, you can find me as well. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see everybody back. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you for